gang shit. That's all I'm on.
We're going to jump right into a discussion about Trump. We'll see how far we go with this one. I'm just curious what...
And this is what establishment media does not understand about Donald Trump. Yes, I think Hillary Clinton said two correct things in her life. One of them was the deplorable line that everybody hates. No, that's totally true. In my opinion, half the Republican base is deplorable. And I think they are racist, bigots, sexist, etc. We could talk
half,
easily half. Okay, but the other half,
that's 40 million people in America.
Absolutely, not even close.
You believe that?
100%. We could debate it. Okay, but hold on. Let me get to the other 40 million. Okay, the other 36 million or so that voted for Trump. No, they're just angry that the establishment is screwing them. And they don't know how they're getting screwed.
That's exactly what Charlie Kirk said.
Right, and that's
they're scorned.
And they hate mainstream media, and they're right, because mainstream media is a factory of lies. So they'll say, oh, the status quo is great. For who? Yeah, the billionaires who run those companies and the millionaires who are on air, yes, for you guys, everything's hunky-dory. But it's not great for when wages didn't go up for 45 straight years. Now, because of inflation, they ironically went up a little bit.
I don't know. I don't really want to touch this because it is so easily to get conflated into white supremacy, which... And white pride, white supremacy has been, I mean, the people behind those movements are such awful people that they've ruined the average white person's ability to be at all proud of their religion. Because the pride movements have always been deeply, it's about hate. It's not about making yourself better. It's about hating all others. And it's so sad that that is how that manifested. It's disgusting, but it also makes it so easy to throw 50% of Republicans into the deplorables bag. What if someone just isn't apologizing for being white? What if they aren't ashamed of their heritage and culture? You know, just not being ashamed, just having that level of pride in yourself and your race and the people that look like you, you can't even do that, because that turns you immediately into a white supremacist, white power, all this stuff, and it is not. You can celebrate your own heritage and say, I'm from Sweden, and you know the Nordic and skiing culture of that country makes me proud. It's like admitting you're gay. There's plenty of people that are afraid to say that they're proud of their European heritage, because as soon as you say it, it gets taken to the next level where, like, oh, well, if you say that you're proud of, being Swedish, we know what that means, like the symbols of Norse gods are now associated with white supremacy because of Hitler, and then because of their adoption from other white supremacy groups. So it's like, I don't see that in Spanish culture. You can be proud of your Spanish heritage. There's not that toxic element of it that gets immediately thrown into it, and it's just very difficult to talk about. This is a subject that's like, you don't even want to mention it lest you get thrown in. You say one wrong word and you get thrown in with the worst people who've ever existed, and you're just trying to have a conversation and say things out loud that are trapped inside your own head, and you've got no one to talk to. You're not allowed to talk, so it's like they want you to get mental help, but they don't want you to talk. You're not supposed to talk. I guess you can talk in secret with people, but God forbid you say, this is a confusing topic. I'm not embarrassed to be white, but I'm also not using that as a bat to smash other people over the head and say, you suck, you suck, you suck. No. I'm just comfortable with myself. I haven't done anything wrong. Maybe you could say that in the past people have done things wrong, but I mean, people have been doing things wrong since the beginning of time. That's nothing new, and that's not anything racial either. People of all creeds, genders, races, ethnicities, every single walk of life. There's poor people that are evil, rich people that are evil. One of the most universal things, sadly, that human beings have is evil. Pretty much everybody has some level of it, and you have to actively resist it and try to be good.
But for 45 years straight, wages did not go up. Okay, we have no universal health care in this country when every other developed country in the world has it. We have no paid family leave. We send moms back to the assembly lines and coal mines the day after they deliver. So we have corporate rule in America. And Chapter 5 is about the matrix. And that's mainstream media that lulls you back to sleep. Corporate power is awesome. Corporate rule is great. The lobbyists are innocent. The politicians, oh my God, they're such sweethearts. They're having ideological differences and they're having debates. No, they're not. They're getting checks and then doing exactly as they are told. And that's true of 99% of the Republican Party. And yes, 80% of the Democratic Party at least.
Stop. The way you just said it was so funny. So 99% Republican Party, 80% the Democratic Party. Okay. Can you pull up the chart that just came up? This one right here. Total spending of presidential campaign financing in the United States. They changed a law, I think, in 2019, 2020 that allowed corporations to just open up their checkbooks. I'm sure you're familiar with this. Look at the kind of money we raise for presidential campaigns. From Carter, 197 million, to Reagan, 228 million, to Reagan again, 380, to Bush Sr., 346, to Clinton, 478, to Clinton again, 612, then it's Bush, 891, then it's Obama, I think it's, what's that, 1.769 billion, 1.4 billion again Obama, 1.529 million Hillary Trump. Boom! $4 billion. Whatever they could to get rid of Trump. They spend all the...
This is the weaponization of the political system and the ad money, and I mean, it's not real news anymore. It is propaganda. It's sponsored content in a lot of cases. I mean, you got to understand that whether it's science is funded by somebody, and oftentimes studies are funded, and nobody really has to say that you know, if a pharmaceutical company is funding your science on their drug, that they're not looking for you to come out and say that none of their claims are true. It's kind of an unspoken, hey, here's $100 million to do a study on this, you know? It's the same thing with news articles. If someone commissions a piece, we want you to write about this aspect of the corporate donations. We want you to do an article on this, and we're paying for it. Well, how genuine is that going to be? Paid content, especially directly sponsored. The author is obviously going to be a little bit, feel some obligation to the person that's providing all this money for them to write a simple, you know, piece of content.
Money in the world to get rid of this guy. They figured out ways to say, dude, if we can outspend that guy, because, you know, we can be controlled. So this is the part where, for me, where we agree and where we disagree. This is the part. Like, I had Ari Fleischer here. You know who Ari Fleischer is? And I'm like, you know, a couple of the decisions you guys made when you listen to the CIA, and I'm like, why wouldn't you double verify this? You know, this is a big decision you're making to do this, to do that. Well, I don't know, but we could have done this and we could have done that. And we had Paul Manafort here. I'm like, dude, lobbying. Why? It's the dirtiest thing out there. And he's like, well, I totally get it. But, you know, him and Roger Stone started the lobbying firm. I don't know what, one of the most powerful lobby firms that they had together 30 years ago, 40 years ago. He said, well, the other guy's going to do it. What are you going to do? Sit on the sidelines? Okay, valid point. But I'd like both sides not to do it, right? However, when you look at it now, and you see the kind of money that's being spent on the left for them to push their agendas over. You set aside this lobby stuff out. You set aside corporations putting money in to who they buy. Like, you know, the joke about Koch brothers. Well, you know, he wakes up and says, what do I get for my birthday? Which president, right? Now it's more the left that's doing that. You got the Soroses. You got the Larry Fink and BlackRock with how their ESG score, and, you know, State Street and Vanguard, and that thing's becoming a reality where it's no longer about Democrat and Republican. It's truly becoming more about the establishment folks and the anti-establishment folks.
100%.
And if we're talking anti-establishment, Cenk, you have to agree on this, bro. You have to agree on this. I know it's going to be tough for you to agree on this, but if you don't, Give me everything you got, what I say right now. You can't say Trump is an establishment candidate.
No, but I can't say he's corrupt. So there's a huge difference, and I'll explain.
Okay, fair. Go for it.
Okay, so Trump is not establishment. The establishment hates him. You're totally right about that. Okay, and so
which for guys like us, we like that, don't we?
Yeah, but then you have to see, okay, why do they hate him, right? And so, number one, he's unstable, so business
Can't
interests
be controlled.
and that's also true, though. That's also true.
Okay.
Well, no, he can't be controlled because he's so unstable and unhinged.
Which is a strength, though. In a way, it is an edge you have against your enemy because
I mean, Chat GPT, I was just curious what it would say as far as how to get money out of politics, because you can see as the amount spent goes up exponentially from 1 to or from 300 up to 1,000 in a very short amount of time. You're basically quadrupling it. And I mean, you need campaign finance reform, transparency and disclosure, Citizens United reversal, public financing means, something like crowdsource campaign or GoFundMe, small donor matching, voter education and engagement, constitutional amendments that clarify the rights of individuals over corporations in the realm of campaign finance, because these invented entities that aren't real people are being treated as people and given the rights of people, but they have infinite lifespans, huge amounts of money, board of directors that oversee it. So you got one person with one brain, you got a corporation with many brains and way more money. That's just not fair. And the system is not trying to offset that and try to make it fair in any way. They're completely fine with it just being a fuck you to any human citizen who actually has a real life instead of a legal life and legal rights as opposed to natural rights. Lobbying reform is another huge problem. I mean, the system worked fine until the private sector started to make enough money, especially individual institutions in the private sector are large enough to capture the lobbying mechanism and capture the legislators by financing everything for them, because they have that kind of money. They have nation-size bank accounts. Empowering grassroots movements, technology and social media, that would be us using it to try and create reform. But anytime you speak out about anything like real change that would make our lives better, it gets censored and taken down, and it's not allowed. That those conversations are not allowed on certain platforms. So that's another headwind. How can we create reform when we're not even allowed to talk about certain things on the internet?
If the enemy feels they can't control you, dude, we have to eliminate you if we can't control you.
Well, okay, now let's talk about that, though.
Okay.
So now why do I still say he's super corrupt? And by the way, those stats you showed are in my book, okay? And I explain why. Once the Supreme Court, activist judges on the Supreme Court changed the rules, they basically allowed for bribery, okay?
That's insane.
They legalized bribery. I outline it perfectly clearly. And there was a guy from the Chamber of Commerce, Lewis Powell, who said we could just buy the if we get on the Supreme Court, we could buy the whole country. Corporations just can outspend everyone, right? And so, and they did it. Nixon said, boom, you're on the Supreme Court, and they did it in Bellotti, they did it in Buckley v. Vallejo, they legalized bribery. Now, Trump had trouble getting money from normal corporate interests. And I agree, that's normally a good thing, right? So what did he do? He had to go make up the money. So he went and talked to Sheldon Adelson. So Sheldon Adelson is actually, before he passed away in 2021, largest political donor in history. He gave $100 million to Trump twice, to him and his PACs in 2016 and 2020. What did he get in return? He got corruption charges in China dismissed against him.
To be fair, he's like the Soros of the right. He was like the Soros of the right.
That's
Vegas,
fair.
casino
Yeah.
tycoon,
Sure.
pro-Israel.
He got everything. He's the guy who got the embassy moved. He's the guy who repatriating taxes from abroad because most of his money is in Macau, China, because that's where most of his casinos are.
Casino business,
And he
yeah.
got that tax that knocked down to 8%. So from 35% to 8%, he made billions off of Trump. And on top of getting rid of the corruption charges and the tax cuts and everything, just as a little tchotchke, Trump threw in Miriam Adelson getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
His wife.
His wife. Are you kidding me? So Trump could easily be bought.
Dude, Obama got a Nobel Prize a month after being a president just for what he was.
I know, but that isn't about corruption. That was just them being silly, right?
Okay.
Okay. So my point is
for a
that
DEI score.
Trump is perfectly corrupt and can be bought. It's just that who's buying him is the question.
I don't know.
So you read the portion about Adelson in my book.
Sure.
There's no question he did everything that Adelson asked him. And by the way, I say to the readers, are you sure you wouldn't if somebody funneled $100 million to you and then $200 million to you?
I would. I'm
yeah, right. Yeah. Look, I've given up a lot of money to do the right thing in different portions of my career, but I haven't seen a lot of other people do that. So my point is that money is intoxicating. It corrupts Trump. It corrupts Biden. And by the way, here I'll go further.
No, bro.
But
I'll push back on that when you're done.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. One last thing about it. To me, though, let's look at the flip side of it. Mainstream media will tell you, oh, the Republicans, Mitch McConnell, when he takes $1 billion from corporate interests, he's obviously corrupt. And look at it, he's working for the corporations, et cetera, right? But wait a minute, Nancy Pelosi also took $1 billion. And almost all from the same donors. So why aren't you calling her corrupt? And everyone in mainstream media says, no, Nancy Pelosi's an angel, and she's a master legislator. So when Mitch McConnell takes $1 billion, he's a crook. But when Nancy Pelosi takes $1 billion, she's an angel? No, they're all crooks. That's why we have Feinstein drooling. I'm sorry, but it's reality. In the Senate, Mitch McConnell freezes. He's like, they're all 90 years old. Why? Because corporations know they get a great return on investment from those people.
No question. We're on the same page there, just so you know. But here's how I gauge who can be bribed and who can't be bribed, okay? So most of the time, you know, like this Leon Black story. I don't know if you saw the Leon Black story with Epstein where, you know, he paid Epstein $158 million for consulting fees and estate planning fees over a 5-year period. And what do you mean $158 million for those fees? And then story comes out about a 16-year-old girl who was autistic and, you know,
Jesus.
Yeah. By the way, this story came out. It's pretty wild. So you hear stories like this and you're like, okay, he was bought. Then you watch this video and you'll see where I'm going with this. Can you pull up the video clip of Neil deGrasse Tyson? I don't know if you have it or not. I almost don't. I'll play this clip here in a minute because I don't want to confuse the two clips. I'll come back to it where, you know, the point is being some people flip their position suddenly where you're like,
why?
You would have never said that. Why are you saying it now? What happened to you? At least with you, where you're at, some people are saying, what are you doing, bro? Why are you not like making a couple adjustments, you know, like, but you're like, no, this is all I'm going to talk about and da-da-da-da-da. Great. So you're not controlled. People may not agree with you, but you don't come across as a guy that's controlled, right? They don't have 100%. To like you, but you don't come across as a guy. Now, some will say, well, you took money from Soros in the past. They'll say all I'm saying to you is they'll say that that's happened, all that stuff. But to me, you're unhinged, you're not controlled, and they don't like people like you, and I totally get it. You could make a couple adjustments to increase your business affairs, but that's to you. You've chosen to play the route that you're playing. When I watch a Trump and I watch some of these guys, I'm like, okay, that guy, you can win him over. Just introduce him to a couple girls. He's good. Easiest way to win guys over, right?
Yeah.
It's typically guys that don't get a lot of play, and they're not good with words. They're not good with the ladies. You know, hey, go do X, Y, Z to him, and he's going to fall for it at a bar. Boom. Hey, here's the clip we got from the room with you. Guess what? Da-da-da-da-da. Can happen to anybody, by the way, right? Okay. So girls is one of the ways of doing it. Attention is another way of doing it. Fame is another way of doing it. You know, money is another way of doing it. Guess what? Trump has had it all. He's had all the girls, one too many sometimes, okay? Some that he was single, some that he wasn't single. He's had all the money. He's been to all the parties. He's got all the letters from all the most powerful people in the world telling them how much they love him. Alec Baldwin, no one ever treated me like this. Oprah Winfrey, you know that book he wrote about all the letters that others wrote for him that now they hate him. Chuck Schumer used to love me. He used to love me when this, that. You know that whole talk that he gave with the joke.
And he's right about that part.
Yeah. So, but the point is, he's had the girls. He's had the fame. He's at the properties. He's been to the parties. He's had the money. How the hell are you going to, like, does he want to be, if he's worth $2.5 billion right now?
He's not.
Let's just say he's worth, well.
He's not. He's a total loser. He's almost bankrupt.
Well, okay. So you can say that, and that's fine. But
Can't say he's a loser.
But
Total loser.
But if you say he's bankrupt, you can say that can be your opinion. But the last 60 years, the last 50 years,
he's a loser.
proves you wrong. Okay,
It doesn't. It proves
Makes
you.
me feel
15
bad
years
about
Apprentice was
myself.
#1. How the hell are you that entertaining to be #1 for 15 years, right? You know, financially, real estate properties, when you think about a real estate name brand, you think about one name. You don't think about 50 different names. You think about a guy that's been able to brand himself, you think about Trump. Now, are you going to buy Trump steak? Probably not. But you're going to buy...
Neither did anyone else.
Neither did... but the point is, he's had great victories. He's got kids that are doing well for themselves. He's got a daughter that, you know, has
So does
done...
Biden.
Yeah. That was a different angle you took. But where I'm going with this is, that's the part where I feel they can't stand the guy because they cannot control him. So for me, when I see, you know, what's going on with them wanting to get rid of this guy, and you're like, look,
Listen, I don't give a shit. You know, talk shit about Trump. He sucks. You know, he's garbage. He's a loser. Fuck him. Talk shit about Biden. You know, like, it's okay. No one should get so fucking triggered because someone else doesn't like one of the politicians. They're all fucking shitbag cocksuckers, you know? Anybody who's standing up for any of these politicians, like, they give two fucks about you, you're in such a delusional fucking state. It's like, wake up. You're literally asleep. You're in bed. You're dreaming. If you'd ever wake up, you'd realize that none of them give two fucks about anything other than your vote. And if they could find a way around needing that, they absolutely would. People cheat and lie and steal for much less. You think they won't fucking lie and cheat and steal to get the power of controlling you and this country, everyone in it? Get real.
look, the big donors don't want to give him money. Look how much money he got. No, he can't raise any money. Nobody wants to give him any money. And look at this stuff. Yeah, but the people that are raising money are the people that are not being trusted because they're part of the establishment, left or right. A lot of people are saying. So this is why guys like RFK are getting some momentum. This is why guys like Vivek are getting some momentum. Because Vivek's got his own money. RFK's coming out doing some great.
If you're on the left, this is a Democrat, you know? A Democrat with fucking real common sense ideas who's being called a right-wing extremist. The liberals are supposed to be the party of freedom. Conservatives are supposed to be the party of control. And you've got this weird thing going on where the party of freedom and liberation and liberal shit is trying to be more controlling of speech and some other things than anyone else is. It's an inversion of, you know, it's upside down day.
Grassroots stuff. So what are your thoughts on this with Trump?
Yeah. So first of all, with Trump, look, the guy's got insatiable greed. So I don't buy that, oh, he's had enough. He's never had enough, okay? Number two, he's a natural born loser. He's lost at everything except two things. Obviously, he won the presidency in 2016. Yeah, he lost the popular vote, but then Democrats cry about that. And they should. The Electoral College is terrible. It's a disaster. But he won the Electoral College. He won it, right? So you...
This guy's such a fucking idiot. If you get rid of the Electoral College, the cities decide the vote. Okay? You've got these population centers, and the reason that the Electoral College exists is to limit the ability for New York City and Los Angeles, San Francisco to dictate the outcome of elections. Just the East Coast, just New England has a population density far, far above any section in the middle of the country. So the Electoral College says no matter how many people are in New York City, half the country could be there. We're still not going to let that city dictate the outcome of elections because they only get this many electoral votes. And then the people in the Midwest, where you got a very small, very low density, those people still get an appropriate share of the votes. It's like a genius system that somehow the Founding Fathers were able to think through all this stuff and figure out the many pitfalls of just a straight election system and understand that small places that don't represent the majority of Americans, if enough people move there, could decide the whole thing. So what he just said, I mean, he wrote a whole book, so he's wicked smart. Well, that was pretty fucking stupid.
You give him that for sure. And he's great at marketing. Just blah, 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 Trump, 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 Trump. And Democrats don't get it. They're such knuckleheads. They're like, oh, if we have an accomplishment, we should whisper about it on NPR. No, you should scream at the top of your lungs like Trump does. But having said that, bankrupt 6 times, got clowned in 2020, and he's been crying about it ever since like a little spoiled brat. Had to have his dad get him into the schools that he got into. He hides his grades from high school and college because he's a loser. He's a spoiled little baby. He blew $413 million from his dad. Blew it all. Then he got $400 million.
I don't know who the fuck this guy is, but it's why the personal attacks? Why can you not just go based on policy and decisions, you know? Like the personal insults, the easiest way for me to tell that someone's stupid and has nothing to say is they just start insulting you personally instead of talking about, like, especially with politicians, talk about his policies that suck. Talk about the things that he did that was stupid. You don't just say, he sucks, he's a loser, you know, he did this and that. And it's like, that's why we can't have conversations anymore, because it devolves into, if I don't have anything to say, or if you have a good point, then I just go straight to, oh, well, you suck, and you're an idiot, and you're ugly, and you smell bad. It's like fucking kindergarten, you know?
$1 million from Apprentice. Why was that successful? Because of the producers. I know the producers on that show. They had to treat him like a baby. Hey, baby, come here. Baby, say this.
The same producers have done shows that flopped.
Yeah,
you know how
no,
hard
but
it
they
is
were
to
also
keep-
the same producers who did other number one hits.
It is so hard to keep a number one hit show for 15 years.
but if you want to say Trump is entertaining, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. He's pretty good at marketing, right? And he says these terrible things, but people laugh, right? And I get it. And you know his giant strength that people don't talk about, and no one in mainstream media acknowledges this. He does.
Trump says terrible things. This guy just got done saying that he's a fucking loser and X, Y, and Z. It's just such. Some people are so fucking hypocritical because they have no. It's like they aren't even paying attention to what the fuck they're saying. One minute they're like, oh, you know, he's an asshole and he says terrible things. I just got done saying terrible things. Let's just move on.
Doesn't look fake. I think he's a con man, and he's been a con man his whole life. But he looks authentic because he doesn't go off a prompter. And you think, well, that's a real guy. He's saying crazy crap that nobody else would say.
See, that's fine, because there's basis in reality. We just got done talking about the fact that he filed bankruptcy several times over the course of his career. He has clearly developed a very well-defined system of selling things to people, and ultimately salesmen are all con men. A lot of salesmen can get you in the room and make you agree to buy something that you actually don't need. So to say Trump is, you know, evil, he's just using sales tactics, which many other human beings use, and we don't feel the need to be so critical of them. Just this one guy. And that's what's so suspicious. Same thing with Tate. Oh, okay, so if he did, you know, do human trafficking, whatever the actual charges are, why is he the only one that everyone's concerned about? I mean, if we really genuinely care about human trafficking and the child sex trade and all this stuff, there's other people that have more evidence against them that are talked about less or not at all. So there's again just complete lies as to the real motivations. We hate this guy, we're going to talk negatively, this guy or girl, we're going to talk negatively about them and pick whatever bad things that they're doing, versus picking topics that we find disgusting and need to be changed and going after this behavior in all humans. We only care about it in certain people, certain individuals.
And all the other politicians look like actors. They're robots. They come out like Pete Buttigieg came out from a factory. Everybody knows that, right? Gavin Newsom, but also DeSantis and McConnell. They're all robots. They come in, I will do this. I have been told by my donors this is great policy, right? And so he has the feelings of authenticity. But if you look at his records, like you said, great in real estate, he's awful in real estate. In Atlantic City, he built 3 casinos. Everybody said, you're going to cannibalize it, you moron, your own business. And you know, one of his top assistants says he just likes his name in lights. So he'd like to see Trump in Atlantic City, and he bankrupted all 3 because he sucks at business.
You think you're good in business?
Yes.
You think you're good in business?
Yes.
Cenk.
Yes.
Seriously.
100%.
Okay, so when's your birthday, by the way? What month's your birthday? Let me see.
March.
March 30, 21st. So, okay.
Yeah.
You're a Pisces. You're a Pisces.
Aries, beginning of Aries.
Oh, you made it to Aries.
Yes.
Interesting. My dad's in Aries. I get along with Aries. Okay. So he's on April 10th. You're March. So you barely are in Aries, though, by one day, right?
Beginning of the
Interesting.
of spring.
Okay.
You made the cut, man.
Yeah,
You
very
made
cool.
it.
So okay, bro. When you say that, you know, for me, I feel like if there's anybody that would be like a pro-Trump guy in a confusing way, it would be you. Okay, I know this is like this guy's lost his mind. You have no clue who the F I am. Are you crazy? There's no way. Because in business, you know, do you have a perfect record with business? No. Do I have a perfect record with business? No.
Nobody does. Yeah.
Nobody does. But, you know, has Trump taken it to certain levels that his dad didn't take it? Yeah, that's not easy to do. His dad wasn't as famous as this guy got. It's a very hard work to do that. There's a lot of kids that are spoiled kids from a rich father who don't do shit with the money, and they become crack addicts, and they become drug addicts, and they hire prostitutes all the time, and they go try to...
But see, this is why the corporation is so dangerous, is because unlike traditional wealth, which is most likely squandered at some point, it's very hard to get generational wealth to stick. But with corporations, you don't have some asshole son. You have another fully qualified board of directors, and these people are very good at continuing that pool of money, the growth of it, and the power associated with it. They're good stewards. So, you know, we've given, in a very short amount of time, we've given rise to this new entity called the corporation. And now you're giving rise to another new entity called AI. And between the two, they're going to fucking absolutely shit on your ability to compete as a human being.
Sell their laptops at different places, and they, you know, I'm not saying about anybody specific, but this happens
seems
every
like you're
once.
saying it about someone
No, I mean,
specific.
this kind of stuff does happen every
Someone's
once
coming
in
to
a
mind.
while, right? There's stories like that you hear about. It's like, oh, okay, this guy's going to make it. This guy's not going to make it. So there is something about him. One can say John F. Kennedy became a president because of his father, Joseph Kennedy, because that okay, fine. And Joseph Kennedy became successful because his dad had all this money from, okay, fine, okay? There's some of it that's got to go to the credit of the individual. Perfect. So if I listened to you and I didn't know who you were, okay, and I just came to America, and I've heard about this Trump guy, and I've heard about the Biden guy, and I'm listening to you, I would say that guy is angry at Trump for what reason? He's either envious of Trump, he's angry with him because he sounds personal. He doesn't sound like he's being reasonable. He sounds he's being personal when he's attacking Trump. And I think he loses credibility a little bit for taking the angle that he does. Because you're coming from a place of saying this guy got this much money and he became rich because of this, and he's a loser, he's a this. The guy was on Oprah Winfrey, 1988. And Oprah Winfrey says, so, hey, you sound like somebody that's going to, you've seen this, you sound like somebody that's going to run for office one day. No. Well, do you have any plans? No, but if I ever did, I would win. Who the hell says that? That's like a Babe Ruth call. You know, when you say, I'm going to hit the home run, you point the finger and you hit it. His book crushed it. His show crushed it. He crushed it in New York going up against all these other guys. He's done good with women. He's done good with his kids. He became a president. I don't know. Love him or hate him. I don't have a relationship with him. So there is not like I'm defending this guy. I'm doing it. We're in Florida because of DeSantis. We came here because all of a sudden DeSantis, I'm watching him market. I'm like, dude, You're not even out there doing your part marketing. Finally, he's getting to it, and now everybody's asking a question that they shouldn't be asking you, which is what? Why are you so down on the polls? Can you make a comeback? You should have never allowed these people to ask that question if you would have played offense earlier. But when you see a winner and complicated individual, a misunderstood individual, I don't know how many people you're going to put on the list as Trump in the history of America, by the way. Whether you love this guy or hate this guy, it's kind of tough to, demonize the guy's resume. And I know you like to do this, but it's kind of tough to do it.
Not remotely tough.
You think so?
So, Pat, look, I'm...
It's conflicting because I'm not going to put anything past anybody, so I'm not going to say that I believe for sure that Trump is a force for good, but the things that he was pushing for seem to be good for America. Not good for the global agenda, not good for erasing borders and removing human rights. He wanted to hold China accountable. He wanted to bring jobs back. He wanted to put our borders up. Somehow that's racist, even though every other country has borders. And you see the migrant crisis that's fundamentally reshaping Europe right now because they were in proximity and we didn't take really any migrants compared to what they took. So the idea of just being in control of your own, who comes in your country and who doesn't, is not a bad thing. In fact, I think it's what we should be focusing on is legal immigration reform and making avenues and increasing the efficiency of vetting and allowing people to come here legally. That's what we should be focusing on, not tearing down our wall and letting anyone come across. Criminal, good worker, bad worker, good person, bad person. I mean, do we not care? Do we just want everybody? I mean, one minute you've got deplorables in the Republican Party who are racist and terrible people, and the next minute you want to open up the border and let just anybody come in here, regardless of their background, regardless of their beliefs, regardless of whether they like America, know anything about America, want to come here to steal, want to come here to work. Pure ignorance. And so the argument against Trump is generally you don't like the guy, you don't like some of the stuff you've heard him say. Fair enough. I'm in the same boat. I don't like some of the stuff that I heard him say. But as a president, I thought that he was doing an okay job. I wasn't that big of a fan of Bill Clinton getting his dick sucked under the desk in his office by some intern who's being paid with my tax dollars, and abusing his position of authority. But as a president, at the time, it seemed like he was doing good for America. He was bringing the two parties together and getting things done. In hindsight, he continued what George H.W. Bush started, which was outsourcing labor and demolishing the middle class in America, building China's infrastructure, building their workforce. So they've got factories and equipment and a trained workforce and all the money associated with producing this stuff. For a little while, it was great. We're like, wow, everything's so cheap. But then as it all caught up with us, we're like, wow, all the jobs left. So now we get cheap TVs, but there's no skilled labor workforce. We haven't been investing in America. We've been building China up and cutting our own legs out from underneath ourselves. And the politicians are selling it to you. Salesmanship, just like Trump's disingenuous sometimes. These people are too. And they're trying to sell you a false bill of sale saying that we're doing this for you. And they're not getting any little cushy, back end palm greasing from the choices that they're making, because it's certainly not good for America long term. You're empowering other countries and you're diminishing American power and American capabilities by just outsourcing it. We saw it during COVID. We don't make anything. We don't have access to pharmaceuticals. We don't have access to shit. It all comes from China. And when global shipping and global trade got all fucked up, this became readily apparent and caused huge issues in supply chains and pricing.
Giving you nuanced answers. I'm telling you that he's anti-establishment in some ways,
Sure.
and that's part of his appeal.
Right.
I'm telling you he's good at marketing. And almost everything you're saying is he's good at marketing. He was good on TV. He was good at marketing his book. He went on Oprah. It's marketing, marketing, marketing.
No, you said he wanted 2 things. And what I did is I showed his resume. That's more than 2 things. It's a bunch of different things that he wanted. That was my defense to you saying he only wanted 2 things, not the marketing
so,
side.
Pat, imagine if your dad gave you $413 million.
Which we don't know that's the number, but you're saying $413 million.
New York Times says this was $413
New York Times also said science
New York Times.
I have to take
New York Times has also lied about me. I understand.
New York
okay,
Times
but,
is a piece of
but his
fucking
dad was
shit.
enormously wealthy.
There's
and
no
gave
question
him an
about it.
enormous
Sure,
fortune,
yeah.
and which he lost.
413 by today's standards, or what was it back then? What was the actual?
14 million is the number you hear about.
No way. It's look. I forget. I think it's by today's standards, but I'm not positive.
it
Okay,
could have been 413
but it's not
back
14 to 413. That's not how inflation works. So, but Pat, if they gave it to you, you'd probably be worth $4 billion by now.
I don't know
okay?
about that.
Come on, it's such an enormous
Cenk, do you have kids?
advantage.
Cenk, do you have kids?
Yes.
What are you talking about, bro? Let me unpack this for you. So, one of the hardest things to do is to be the pastor's kid. Are you kidding me? Like the pastor's kid is like, so you got to be a virgin till you get married. I'm gonna go freaking smoke weed, dude. I'm so sick and tired of this pressure. What are you gonna be this? No, I'm not, bro. I remember we're at a church. We're going to the church. The pastor's son. You ready for this? This is a pastor loved by so many people. His son gets arrested across the street from the church with a crew of players taking stuff from Best Buy. And the pastor's going to come on Sunday and preach in front of 20,000 members. So the point I'm trying to make to you is nobody wants to be Michael Jordan's kids. Nobody wants to be Brady's kid. The level of pressure and scrutiny of wanting to do that. Trust me, I understand the level of influence and additional cards and stuff that you can get. But we did a research on a generational wealth. I got kids, and I'm trying to see how do I set it up for my kids to get my wealth without them being spoiled. Okay, so it's something that's important to me. I kind of want to figure out. I'm in a community, a couple families do it right. So I said, let me go out and study this to see how to do it right. Vanderbilt's, do you know how long the wealth lasted? This guy was the richest man in the world, giving money back to the country. You know how many generations money lasted? 2 generations.
Usually it's always 2 generations.
The only wealth that lasted 7 generations, the Medici. Medici lasted 7 generations. It's the only one. Every other one is 2, 3. Rockefeller's still on 4 right now. They're not even on 5, 6, 7. So the notion when you're saying like if you would have had a head start, bro, a lot of people, you give them money, they become spoiled little brats. I had a guy I interviewed who lives in Seattle. You know what his job was? He managed the Templeton family, 16 grandkids. You know what his job was? His job was, he was the guy dealing with billionaire families. And the reason why Seattle, you know why Seattle, Amazon, Microsoft, all those guys, there's all these billionaires and guys that are worth $100 million that no one knows who they are. He's worth $28 million, $148 million, $300 million.
Yes, sir.
They're kids, drug addicts. He says, my biggest job with these guys was to make sure they didn't do drugs. They didn't do alcohol. But you know what the biggest problem with me was?
This is so conflicting because as much as sometimes I go to I don't care about things. You know what I mean? I'm overall don't care about buying anything unless I suddenly get an idea I want to do something. Maybe I need some equipment to do so. But I used to live near Lake Winnipesaukee. Sometimes I'd go up there and see teenagers riding around in limos and everybody's driving Porsches and BMWs and all this fancy shit. And this little twinge of envy would grow. And I would feel it and be like, what is this? Why? I don't give a shit about this stuff, but somehow seeing other people have it, I become envious. I become jealous for no fucking reason. I really don't care about these things. But being around it, I'm like, oh man, I wish I was, I wish I could have these things. And it's like, it really makes no sense. Why would I want all this junk? And why would I think that being rich would make me any happier when I see that the suicide rate amongst rich people and the rate of addictions and the rate of just general unhappiness and depression and everything is not any better in that group. So $1 billion doesn't solve anything. Just focus on having a high quality normal life. Don't try to chase money. If you get into that, your whole life is just going to be making money. You might you might neglect your children. You're a workaholic. You're at the office all the time. You're on your third divorce. You know, like everybody looks at you and says, "Wow, how successful!" Just because of your bank account, your net worth. Meanwhile, there's someone who just has a normal amount of money, who his children love him, his or her children, their children love them. They're involved in the community. They're not depressed. They're waking up in the morning with a smile on their face, ready to go do the things that they want to do. They're involved. They have hobbies. You know, they like to work on this or that, and that person, even though we don't consider them to be successful, the real things in life that actually matter, which aren't money. Money is just a bullshit construct. The real things in life that matter is human connections, fulfillment, enjoyment, and achievement. And achievement does not always mean making money. Achievement can mean even just mastering control of your own brain, you know, becoming meditative, learning to master your emotions. Imagine the sense of achievement you could feel from finally being in control of your mind versus having $1 billion. What do you think's more valuable?
He says, what's that? They typically came to me too late. They came to me too late that I couldn't do anything about it. Dude, this guy's never drank alcohol. He's never done drugs. He doesn't do that. I mean, that kind of stuff, to come from that amount of opportunity to screw up, dude, that's not easy to do.
6 bankruptcies. I mean, just no, look, people make mistakes in business. If you're not making mistakes, you're not really a businessman. Like, there's no question. I get it, right? And I'd cut him I'd cut any.
The 6 bankruptcies are not an accident. Back then, the bankruptcy laws incentivized you. It was a wealth building tool. A lot of people were doing this before the laws were changed. So you could declare bankruptcy, retain, especially if you moved some assets, if as part of the business operation you realized the money was going down, so you sold some assets to try to generate more capital. Those assets are outside the business now. You then run the business into the ground, sell everything, declare bankruptcy, and if you've sold those assets to other protected organizations that, because when you declare corporate bankruptcy, they don't actually take your stuff if you've structured it properly. So you can embezzle the assets out of the company, bankrupt it, and then transfer assets into the next one, do the same thing, and you get a snowball effect where each time you get more and more and you just roll it into the next one. So is it wrong? Absolutely. Was it legal? Absolutely. So that is, you know, human nature to take advantage of a glitch or an exploit. Watch how people play video games, you know? That's just the tiniest example, the tiniest, most meaningless example, even for bullshit that doesn't mean anything in a digital video game where there's no reward that's real. It's just, oh, my character's more powerful now, and people don't feel bad about that. They'll get on stream and show how powerful their character is and just kind of gloss over the fact that they cheated their way into it.
Business person a lot of slack for, you got a bankruptcy, you got 2 bankruptcies. It happens, brother. 6? He's never had a successful business. Trump steaks, Trump water, Trump casinos. You can't name a successful business. He bought an airplane company. He put gold seats in an economy airline and immediately went bankrupt. He's terrible at business. But look, if you say it's personal, well, number one,
this is how you embezzle. You put the money into assets, and then you can either directly move them outside the company before you declare bankruptcy, or you can put the whole business up for auction and buy your equipment for pennies on the dollar. Either one is actually pretty easy to do. The only concern with the auction is that other people are going to bid against you. But I mean, he's acting like he has no concept of that's how things work. This is like, you know, Hillary accusing Trump of not paying taxes, and then he goes, "You're the one that sets the laws. You allow this. How many of your donors haven't paid taxes? Let's go to your donor list and see who's been paying their taxes. Who paid less than the marginal tax rate for a regular American, even though they made $1 billion last year. Let's take a look at that, because nobody fucking cares. Nobody even thinks about it. They just want to Orange Man bad, you know? He's not doing anything illegal so far. Nothing has been he's not been convicted. I mean, now he's got the documents issue where he took some presidential papers home, but other presidents have done this. Hillary Clinton had 20,000 emails on a home server. No repercussions for that. No indictment, no trial, no nothing.
It isn't, because I'm giving you nuance on both sides, okay? But having said that, look, it got personal when he lost the election in 2020 and said, screw it, I'm going to try a coup. I'm going to do these fake electors scheme. I'm going to try to rob America of its democracy just so I can stay in power. Screw that guy. And if any of you are voting for that guy who's totally un-American, who betrayed this country, you're nuts, and he won't ever leave office. He's a wannabe dictator. He always praises dictators, whether it's Xi in China, whether it's Kim Jong-un in North Korea, Putin. He's always saying, oh, they get all the applause when they walk in.
Biden is all about the Chinese dictator. Very, very healthy relationship between the two of them. So, I mean, everybody does it, man. He wants to act like they're all different and they're all the same. That's my point, is that you're criticizing this guy, not criticizing the other. Criticize them all. They're all worthy of criticism, and they are all unworthy of uncritical worship.
No one is allowed to disagree with them. And then freedom, my ass. He hates freedom. He wants to take away everyone's freedom so that all the power goes to him, okay? So, no, Pat, look, you can...
I'm not laughing at you. It's entertaining what you're saying, and
it's 100% true.
I can see... Okay, so let me ask you a different question. Who do you trust more, him or Biden?
I don't trust either one of them. It's not about trust.
Fair. Okay, so who do you see more? If your choices are the two guys right now, are you going to sit this one out?
Oh, no way. I'm going to vote Biden because I want another election. Okay. If you put Trump back in charge, there's at least a 50% chance we're never going to have another election.
So let me ask you this other question. To the people who, when Hillary lost, you've seen that clip when Hillary lost. It's one of the greatest. Bill Burr said it best when he was on Conan O'Brien. He says, look, man, forget about the Olympics, Russia, U.S., forget about, the home run, forget about this. He says, dude, this guy beat Hillary Clinton. It's like the people lost their minds, right? What did Hillary Clinton do for 4 years? You know what she did. She went around campaigning around what? They stole the election. They stole the election. They stole the election. And we...
What do you mean before, Pat? Before she was doing it with all that bullshit.
Yeah. But they didn't say that he physically stole the election. There's a giant difference. Saying, oh, boo-hoo, which he did, of like, oh, the Russians interfered in the election, which, by the way, they did, but not...
How about the Twitter files? How about the suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop conveniently right before the vote? I mean, they did this because they saw what happened when the FBI was, bringing up what Hillary had done and talking about possibly an indictment for the home email server and all that stuff. And then that's not even mentioning Benghazi. But anyway, the thing about the election is I don't believe that we should be using electronic voting systems, because once you introduce computer programming code that most normal Americans can't observe or understand, you are obscuring the transparency of the process, and that is a de facto requirement. It must be transparent and understandable to your average voter. They want to act like it's that, but really, if we suspect that there's any fraud from either side, it's not transparent for either one to go back and make sure, okay, here's the paper ballots. There was no manipulation in some back, closed code that's proprietary and not open source. There's no meddling that occurred. It's pretty clear with physical evidence. But once you put a middleman in there, which is the computer, you obscure the transparency of the process. So whether or not you believe if there was an opportunity to cheat for either side, sadly, I would expect either one to do it. It would be naive to say that You could put that amount of trust in a politician that wants power. I mean, the reason they're in those positions is because they want the power. So, sadly, they will take it if possible. And we're just not supposed to question any of this. And talking about it turns you into a conspiracy theorist, not an adult. So, like, I'm not going to say, oh, it was complete bullshit or it was completely true. What I'm saying is there were some questions, and I don't think it should be unacceptable for us to ask questions and demand that the next time we evaluate where the possible failure points are and remove them and make the system as bulletproof and robust as we possibly can, because this is one of the most important systems. Our democracy is based upon it, and we need to make sure that there is not some bullshit going on behind the scenes.
Not enough to make the difference, okay? But that's just crying after your loss. Whereas Donald Trump had a scheme of fake electors to do a goddamn coup.
So I got a follow-up.
Hillary did not do
she
that.
Did
I can't stand Hillary.
And she did actually concede.
Wait, hold on.
She conceded.
So, well, here's my question, Cenk. So let's say you are Trump. You legitimately win the election. Hold on.
Don't use the word legitimate.
Time out. You won in 2016. You find out all these years later with the Durham report and all that shit that not only did Hillary help set up lawyers, the dossier, everything. How can you blame somebody for not trusting the FBI or everything in 2000?
That's a good question. I wouldn't trust
anybody.
Okay, so look, when he asked for a recount, I said, hell yeah. When he asked for a hand recount, I said, hell yeah. Why? Progressives have been asking to verify elections for decades now, right? But when some Bernie supporters back in 2016 said, oh, no, Hillary stole the election from Bernie in the primaries, I said, look, when you're talking about how they set up the debates, how they funneled money from the donors through the state.
Yeah.
We'll see what he says, but Hillary stole the election through the superdelegates. The delegates, the superdelegates are not beholden to the actual voters. They can vote either way. The Republican Party does not have superdelegates, so they are beholden to the actual popular vote. So this is a specific problem in the Democratic Party, where the Democratic Party has more lateral ability to shift what candidate they're going to put before you. They don't have to listen to the results of the primary. You're pretty much wasting your time. Without reform in that system, you have to really, really go far and beyond to vote for one specific person to override the ability for the superdelegates to be like, no, fuck you. This is our guy. This is our girl. We're not following what you voted for. We're putting this person in front of you, and you can kiss our ass. Our asses, actually.
Democratic parties, that's true, okay? But if you're talking about evidence of rigged elections, you have to come with frickin' evidence. And our side didn't. So I said, no, I don't care how angry you get at me. Hillary Clinton did not steal the votes in those elections in the primary in 2016. So when you get to Trump, if he says, hey, I want to recount, great. But they did. They recounted 3 times. They did hand recounts. Then they went to court 60 times. And guys, this is definitive. He couldn't present one piece of evidence. He had 60 shots at it. You know why he couldn't present one piece of evidence? Because there is no evidence. There is no evidence, and he knows it. He made it up from day one. He's a giant liar. He's always been a pathological liar. And he came in and was like, oh, I don't like losing. I don't like losing. I don't like it. Boo-hoo. Oh, I think they stole it. They made up 7 million votes. Hugo Chavez, they blamed the Kraken, all these insane donkeys or mules or whatever the hell. Get it out of here. Hey, all of MAGA, show me one piece of evidence in court, not BS. Oh, I said it on TV, doesn't that count? No, all you ever do is lie on TV. All the politicians lie on TV. Go to court, show the evidence. Until then, shut up and stop trying to steal elections and stop hating America. America's about elections, it's about democracy.
So by the way, you know, I will say this to you if you could. I will say this to you. So you're right when it comes down to if you think the other person is guilty, show the proof and go through it. That's the whole thing with innocent until proven guilty. Totally get it. But, bro, mainstream media ran for 3.5 years that Trump, Russia, all that stuff. I'm not saying you. I'm saying mainstream media ran against them 3.5 years every day. This guy thought Russia got him elected. I mean, people that we know, smart guys.
But brother, mainstream media hates progressives. They've destroyed our movement.
I'm not.
Am I saying, we won the election?
But I said to you, I said not you. I said not you. I said mainstream media.
But my point is, Pat, you got to play the playing field. That's true for me. That's true for Trump.
Sure.
Right. So yes, mainstream media hates him. Yes, they did propaganda against him for 3.5 years. But that's the playing field, right?
Totally get it. No, it's totally fine. They have the edge. Listen, Republicans, if they want to have that, go buy some media companies and compete directly.
Yeah.
Musk is buying Twitter. Great. Go at it. Play your game if you're going to do what you're going to do.
Murdoch influences elections more than anyone else.
Murdoch is right now more at a whole different place. He's not a Team Trump guy. You know that, bro. He's not. But where I was going to this, the following. Okay. So the part for me that got confusing was the following. Okay. Do you remember during COVID, I had a lady named Judy Mikovits on who used to work with Fauci in 1980s with the AIDS thing. Oh, my God. It was like, boom, 2 million views taken down. Short clip, strike. What? Okay, let's interview this other guy. Boom, strike. Okay, all right. Boom, strike. They took like 40 of our videos down during COVID. And we kept doing the interviews, and we were not like, well, this is 5G. Remember the whole 5G thing? Like, that fizzled out very quickly. Everybody thought it was a 5G. But there was a community that was like, well, this is what's going on. Here's what they're doing. This is what they're doing. Okay, cool. You know, we're like, all right, let's kind of take a look at to see what's going on. Election claims. Yeah, this is what they did, you know, the drop and okay. Yeah, election fraud has been going on for a long time. Okay, this ain't anything new. It was something known for Democrats that would do a lot with John F. Kennedy, Dewey, all this stuff, and it's been going on for many, many years. Great. Okay, they're doing that. But if you put up any clips disputing it, guess what? You were getting strikes, and they were taking those videos down. Then 2-3 months ago, YouTube comes out and saying, moving forward, we're no longer taking those videos down. They can stay up, okay? Why would YouTube do that?
The science changed. Follow the science. And don't apologize for pushing bullshit. Just quietly change the rules and say, even though we've been saying that you are fucking liars and the scum of the earth for posting this shit, and it gets struck down immediately, well, it turns out it was fucking true. We're not sorry for taking all that shit down, but now you can post it now that no one fucking gives a shit.
Yeah.
Convenient.
Why would YouTube not allow it for 2.5 years and all of a sudden YouTube, can you pull up that clip on YouTube, change their guidelines on election claim or whatever? Like, no, moving forward, we're not going to take it down and we're changing our guidelines for it. So I'm not saying one or the other, but did YouTube behind closed doors, are they worried about a Twitter files coming out? Are they worried about, YouTube changes policy to allow false claims about past U.S. presidential elections. YouTube will stop removing content that falsely claims the 2020 election or other past U.S. presidential elections were marred by widespread fraud, errors, or glitches. The platform announced Friday. This is what, AP News? Less than 2 months ago. It's exactly 2 months ago, is when they put it up. Why would they do that?
I have a good theory.
Not only that, they want to claim that Russia only was trying to meddle in the last election. Other countries have been trying to meddle in our elections for quite some time now, and the internet just makes it easier and fucking easier. You know, you got something like TikTok that's controlled by the Chinese state in everybody's pocket. No problem with that, and you don't think that they're at all. They manipulate the fuck out of their people, and they fucking deprive them of certain information. You don't think that they're doing the fucking same shit to us? You're delusional if you don't think that they're doing that.
I'm curious. I want to hear your theory why they would do that.
Yeah, because now every Republican believes it. Like 8 out of 10 Republicans believe it. So what are they going to do, ban every Republican? So I think they got to a point where they're like, we give up. Every right-winger believes this nonsense that's totally made up. So we can't ban all the right-wingers, so we just got to let them say it.
How much of it is, well, these guys on Rumble are kind of picking up some steam?
Not really. Rumble sucks. It's got no steam at all. Steven Crowder's career is dead. Everybody who's on Rumble's dead.
Steven Crowder's career is dead.
Of course. He went to Rumble. 3 people watched there. That's a terrible mistake. He should have taken the Daily Wire deal. I forget politics, right? Daily Wire offers him $50 million. He could have stayed on YouTube. He would have been relevant and had more money. It was a disastrous decision by him. Look, I'm happy to be wrong. If it turns out Rumble does great going forward, I'll come back and say I was wrong. But I'm telling you,
top
anybody
guys
who goes
on Rumble right now? Obviously, Fresh and Fit is on there. Sneako's on there. Not that they're in the
look, you'll
political.
find 2 or 3 people who are getting views, but on YouTube, the whole world is getting views.
Right.
YouTube has taken over the planet. And that's part of why they're doing this, because they're like, what are we going to do? Not allow any right-wingers on YouTube? But if you guys say they're a little worried about competition, fair, no problem. I'm sure they considered that. They're business people.
So we got 2 theories so far. Your theory is 8 out of 10 Republicans believe the election was fraud. So that's like, hey, let's not lose a Republican. Republicans buy shoes as well. That's kind of like your angle, what you're taking. You're saying Rumble's giving them competition. Maybe that's it. Maybe let's add Twitter in it, because Twitter's eventually going to be doing videos. So I think actually Twitter's a bigger fear to YouTube than Rumble is.
Probably.
No matter how much they trash Twitter, I think Twitter's going to eventually figure that. I don't think Elon's a guy that gives up easily.
It's called X now. Let's have a little respect.
I don't know how to say. I'm gonna X. Go read my X. I just exceeded something. It's kind of weird, right? So, but we'll adjust to it. Yeah, we'll adjust to it. But to me, that was kind of weird when they did that. And you know, my other theory was maybe, you know, the whole, like I said earlier, Twitter files information came out. How many people on the Fauci side were, you know, embarrassed on what's going on? Even Rand Paul came out here and announces official criminal referral. Fauci COVID is a lie. Page 11. I'll read this story here, Rob, if you want to pull it up. Senator Rand Paul made an official criminal referral to the Department of Justice accusing Dr. Anthony Fauci of perjury during this testimony about COVID-19 and funding gain-of-function research in China's Wuhan lab. Paul called for an investigation into Fauci's knowledge of dangerous virus research. Fauci faced criticism after release emails revealed he knew about gain-of-function research in Wuhan lab. Despite denying it during previous testimony, the Government Accountability Office confirmed Wuhan Institute of Virology and Wuhan University received NIH funding for coronavirus research. The debate over COVID-19 origin continues, with some officials suspecting a lab leak theory due to the Wuhan lab's location and research history, while others support a natural spillover event from animals. So are they afraid that maybe a YouTube files is going to come out and they're going to show behind closed doors communication with Fauci about not allowing those types of videos to be shown? I don't know. Are YouTube files going to come out, emails saying, hey, you can't let them show these clips about, you know, what they're doing with the election and what happened to it, and those videos with this mules and all this stuff. You can't let those guys got to be taken down. This is creating too much momentum. Maybe. Could it be that they were afraid for maybe additional stuff to come out with communication with Biden? I don't know. Like, I remember when they changed. One of my favorite things about YouTube, I don't know if you like this or not, I loved it, when you could give a thumbs up or thumbs down.
Yeah.
You know, I love the thumbs down thing, because I'm like, we would do a video. I'm like, damn, I thought this was a good video. They hated this video. You know, the ratios was so bad with thumbs down to thumbs up. Biden's videos, I don't know if you remember this, okay? Dude, when he was campaigning, it was like 28,000 likes, 600,000 dislikes.
Yeah, it was bad.
Like every video's like
it was bad.
to dislike ratio was astronomical. It got so bad, and out of
Then he got more votes than Obama did. And Obama is a charismatic, respectable, articulate politician. Biden's like, and then, where's my ice cream? You know, like, who's voting? Who's voting for him? Other than people that are just blindly hating the other alternative, I guess. Maybe that's how it explains it. I don't know, but it's a lot of votes that came in late. I don't know. You know, I mean, as far as everything you read on the internet, it's all on the level. But I think it's important as Americans to remain skeptical and request that any sort of questionable events, it's legal for us to question that, and you shouldn't be taken down for asking legitimate questions, even if other people think that it's ridiculous.
out of nowhere during election, they said due to mental and anxiety for kids, we're going to get rid of thumbs down.
Yeah.
So
Feelings over logic.
So you know, some of this stuff maybe for me, where YouTube is sitting there saying Twitter's becoming real competition. The last thing we want is the government to start investigating some of our emails and what we did, and what if this stuff leaks?
Yeah,
that could be a theory.
And check, if we're going to talk about cheating, the FBI working with the White House and or just do to censor stories and don't put out, you know, how many was it? 80% of voters or 75 were like, if we knew about the Hunter Biden laptop and what Biden, everything that's coming out right now, we wouldn't have voted for him. That's, if we're gonna talk about interference and cheating, the guy that's sitting in right now, and I know you're not a fan. Nope, I don't think anybody at this point is, but that is hands down cheating with the Department of Justice. And now it's like, nobody really cares. But
I mean, look, you can make the same argument for if James Comey hadn't come out with the Anthony Weiner laptop, Hillary Clinton wins, right? And so did they rig the election in favor of Donald Trump the first time around? So there's a ton of factors that go into an election. In terms of YouTube, I think they mainly took it away for like political correctness / mental health reasons, et cetera. But I don't mean it for Biden. I mean it like kids these days are very upset if anyone does a thumbs down.
Who cares?
Right?
They need that.
No, because they care about kids because that's a huge part of their audience. But in terms of Biden, of course he gets 600,000 dislikes. Why? 2 reasons. Number one, he's a fake politician and people don't like fake politicians on YouTube. And number 2, because the Republican troll army is gigantic. They like the Democratic trolls barely exist, although now on the radical left there's some, right? But the right wing is all trolls, so they're of course. Yeah. But those are, look, Pat, I know YouTube, and it's a giant business. Those are minuscule concerns for them.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here.
I mean, just don't trust. You can't trust mainstream media. You can't trust these fucking politicians. If you see something that doesn't look right, don't let people tell you that you're not allowed to, you know, ask questions. They're accountable to us. We decide who gets elected. We pay the bills by working. They sit around and fuck off. And I mean, pretty much work directly against our interests, even though we're the ones paying their bills. So there is a way out of this. I know it seems hopeless, but it's not. And the way out of this is for us to become engaged in and involved and start to give a shit about the future of America and not be threatened or bullied into silence. We need to be part of the solution instead of being on the sidelines in fear. So it's a very, very overwhelming topic, and the election isn't even really here yet, but this is going to be such a shit show of epic proportions. The primaries and the arguments and the bullshit, and on top of that, you got all the other crazy things that are going on in the world. So it's going to be a nightmare, you know, just buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy fucking ride. All right, guys, take care. And I'll see you soon.
I'm not suicidal. I would never kill myself.